Good morning. Welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about the rainbow synthesis. It's a very interesting talk, and I think you'll find it of value. Put it that way. I'm going to be giving a couple of definitions of the rainbow, and then relating the colors of the rainbow to the rays of the sun, and how synthesis and the colors of the rainbow relate to initiations of consciousness. So there's a lot going into the talk this morning, but you'll see it all will work together. Like all the ingredients that go into a cake look so strange until you bake it, and then you have this beautiful chocolate cake in the end. So let's begin. One person is concerned only about the quality of food. Another tries to avoid foul language. Another attempts to avoid irritation. A fourth one avoids fear. But such useful details are nevertheless separate levers. None by itself will lift the entire weight. Only the rainbow of synthesis can bestow advancement. Now, this is Helena Rourke talking to one of her students through one of the letters. She goes on to say, if someone notices that one aspect has taken possession of him, then let him diligently repeat also the other parts of the given indications. We give much in a veiled form and gradually bring realization nearer to people. Let man not be afraid, but draw near until he assimilates the rhythm of the entire mosaic. Thus, an approach to the synthesis teaches one to make use of all the details. Do you understand what she is saying here? Do you have any questions before I go on? So I'm sure you understand it. Okay. So a rainbow can be defined in many ways. In this writing of Helena Rourke, the rainbow is defined as synthesis, saying that through the practice of synthesis, you can advance. Okay, so just as a simple point, let's say that you woke up with a cold this morning, and all you think about is the cold. And do you have enough vitamin C and other things in your medicine cabinet, your supplements and so forth, to get rid of that cold? According to the writings of Helena Rourke, she is saying, don't just notice this one aspect. Go back a few days. Where were you that you were exposed to a cold? Why, when you were exposed to that cold, did you catch it? Is there something going on with your immune system that needs to be looked at? Or did you go through an emotional crisis? Maybe, I've seen this in my own life, certain events 10 years ago on a specific day is still being triggered now in the present on that same day, which means there's subconscious images that got recorded and went into our permanent atoms or in the subconscious somehow that are being triggered by that date every year. So don't just look at the cold. See, as she is saying, look at everything. The rainbow is also a symbol of peace between the Most High and the world. The rainbow is a symbol of peace between the Most High and the world. Think of this the next time you look at the sky and see a beautiful rainbow. I was thinking also as I was creating the talk for this morning how one day I noticed on Facebook someone had lost their puppy. The puppy had died. And another person responded and said, "Your puppy has gone over the Rainbow Bridge." And now it's common. Say, "Oh, my puppy has gone over the Rainbow Bridge." I think it's so beautiful. I didn't really understand it because I was so typical. I was trying to think, wait a minute. How could that be? You know, I was not looking at it abstractly or, you know, in a way that it was meant to be understood. Anyway, so now I appreciate it and I think it's beautiful, and now I have lots of pets that have gone over that Rainbow Bridge. Now, as a personal symbol, the rainbow is a peace between your divine nature and your human nature, P-E-A-C-E, a peace between your divine nature and your human nature, the rainbow. A peace between your divine nature and your human nature. The rainbow of synthesis can be understood as a marriage, a sacred marriage between your soul and nature. Or perhaps we could say a marriage of beauty, goodness, righteousness, joy, and freedom, and service in their 49 levels of expression. See, we think of these principles, beauty, goodness, righteousness, joy, freedom, also striving and also sacrificial service. We can understand these principles in a physical way, but do we have an understanding that these principles have 49 levels of expression? The rainbow of synthesis implies continuity. The rainbow of synthesis implies continuity. A continuity where all the 7 planes of existence of life and the subplanes, which total 49, are somehow reflected in all that we do, in all that we feel, and all that we think. The ageless wisdom emphasizes that our divine spark is like a rainbow, a sphere of 7 colors. This is our divine spark. These are things we don't think about, we don't study in grade school, we don't study in high school, we don't study in college, but we are now learning it through the wisdom of the great ones. So this wisdom has always been out there, but we haven't always searched for it. Now the fact that we're searching for it, we are magnetically drawn to it and it to us. So our life as a human being and as a spiritual being should be truly opening up to a whole different world or life. Wow. Page 2. I'll have to interrupt myself and tell you what's going on. I'm going to be giving a video lecture for a conference in another country, and I've only been given 10 to 12 minutes. to present that lecture on the cosmic magnet. And so I asked a person here in the group this morning to let me know when 10 minutes is up, so I get an idea of how many words on the page that I can. Well, I've gone through a page and a half out of 7 pages. It's going to be a tough challenge. Okay, moving on. So I was talking about that our divine spark is like a rainbow, a sphere of 7 colors, having a bright light at the center. A sphere of 7 colors having a bright light at the center, and at the center is found the spark of God, more radiant than the sun. So we are like a sun that radiates rays of 7 colors. This is who we are, not just flesh and bones. The rainbow around us is caused by the refraction and the reflection of these rays of our inner sun. Now, there are 7 colors, and each color relates to one of these 7 planes of consciousness. So I'll start at the very top, the divine plane, which corresponds to the color of red. Then the next down is the monadic plane of consciousness, and its color corresponds with orange, or orange corresponds with the monadic plane. Yellow corresponds to the atmic plane. Then we have green, which corresponds to the Buddhic plane. Then we have blue, which corresponds to the mental plane. Indigo corresponds to the astral plane, and violet to the physical etheric. Now, what's very interesting is that these colors remain fuzzy, very fuzzy, until you take the 3rd initiation of consciousness. Prior to this stage of consciousness, this whole threshold of colors slowly begins to appear in your aura. This is all the process that you go through, that the evolutionary, evolving process that's taking place so that your divine spark, your unfolding soul, is moving into the future to where you are becoming yourself, which is the future. And this is the process that's taking place. The more sensitive you become, the more you understand this process of how these 7 colors are slowly appearing in your aura. They are not yet clear and bright, but they are fuzzy and mixed. During the initiatory process, prior to this 3rd initiation, your mind is going to work in a new manner. There are many people in the world today that have not yet taken that 1st initiation. Once you take the 1st initiation, it is then that your mind begins to work in a different manner. And that's where the reason it does is because these colors are starting to come into, slowly, gradually come into your aura, even though mixed and fuzzy. Nonetheless, your auric body is changing. So this process initially is transmuting your physical body. Transmuting your physical body. So as a aspirant, let's say you're aspiring to become somebody. Now, as these colors, these 7 different colors come into your aura, a transmutation is taking place with the physical body, and you undergo physical issues, problems that may appear to be like the problems an average human being has, a non-spiritual human being or a non-practicing spiritual being has, but now these transmutational processes taking place are with purpose, the sole purpose. This process, this initiatory process, is also undergoing a transforming work with your emotional nature. This is why sometimes you just cry and cry and cry, and what the hey? You know, why am I crying? This is part of the transformational process. Your sensitivities are increasing. Once the transmutational and transformational work has been successful, then the initiatory process begins to transfigure your personality as a whole. And what's happening is now, as this whole process moves forward, it makes the third initiation possible. So as you can see, taking the third initiation is no small matter. What you might find of value is to know that the first requirement for the third initiation is to have a vision. Just simple, a vision. It is that vision which will inspire you and magnetically draw you to itself. Magnetically draws you to that vision. Eventually, the vision begins to control all of your physical actions, your emotional responses, and your mental creativity to attract it, magnetically attract it to itself. All higher initiations are accumulations of what we did in the past. For instance, let's say that in the past, you really worshiped and dedicated your life to a great vision, to a great sacrificial act, or to a great master. This dedication, this worship and devotion accumulates year after year, age after age, until they eventually carry you to the next initiation. We read the biographies of human beings that were dedicated to a vision. Mother Teresa was certainly one of them. Madame Curie was another. And many, many others. At the fourth and fifth initiations, the 49 colors, we are told, synchronize with each other in harmonious hues. At the fourth initiation, the initiate will say, take everything. I don't want it because everything is already mine. No hoarding for the fourth initiate, right? So the fourth initiation is a real achievement. It is freedom from self-interest and the renouncing of the personal life. See, we don't understand that. But this is our inspiration. We're being given an understanding of what our future will be like as we go through this initiatory process, this synthetic process that will take us to the fourth and fifth initiation. Right now, it is to help us understand. This knowledge will help us understand people who have at least taken that fourth initiation. The fifth initiation, we'd be lucky to find someone. And that luck would mean we found a master. So the fourth initiation is a real achievement. The initiate now says, Now I exist for humanity, and I will work for humanity. Whatever I am, whatever I have, whatever I know, will be given for the welfare of the one humanity. This is why philanthropists are so highly respected. See where their life has taken them to this point? I no longer have any personal interest. Whatever I know will be given for the welfare of one humanity. The initiate can say this because this illumined one came to this conclusion based on the millions of times they have died and been born again. In these millions of incarnations, the person eventually realized that nothing belongs to him or her. In the fifth initiation, the vision of higher evolution is seen. Now, we've been given glimpses into these higher initiations through the teaching, through the great ones, through those dedicated ones who taught and wrote, and by oral tradition gave us glimpses into what we're moving into. So it is in the fifth initiation the vision of higher evolution is seen. The initiate goes from one achievement to the higher one. What great bliss there is for a human being who totally surpasses the human kingdom and enters their divine heritage, and then proceeds further ahead towards solar and cosmic evolutions. This is why we had the meditation this morning on the cosmic self, to work toward that cosmic space. At the fifth initiation, God is revealed to us, and we are revealed to each other. We are as a symphony, different notes, different rhythms. See, different notes, different rhythms, but one symphony. This is why at the fourth and fifth initiations, the 49 colors synchronize with each other in harmonious hues. There is no separative thinking or acting. At the ninth initiation, we are told that a person appears as a completed sphere of rainbow color. At this point, the rainbow, we are told, has a 9-mile radius. Isn't that profound? It is the ninth initiation where you cut your connection with the cosmic physical plane. Your karma is over and you go forward, as it is said, without residue. It is here that you start your journey on one of the 7 higher paths. And that, it's interesting that decision is made or decided on at the 6th initiation. The 6th initiation. To further understand the connection with the rainbow of synthesis and our solar system is by realizing that the planets and stars were at one time human beings. As the planets and stars advanced, their sphere of colors extended outward for miles and miles. They gradually attracted atomic lives to themselves from space, and they formed spheric globes that served as schools. Now, how do we know this? Well, at first, we know it because we're studying the teaching. But then we're going to have a moment, an experience of attending a school on another globe, on another sphere. You say, that's what the teaching was telling us. Wow, I'm in a school on Uranus. They gradually attracted atomic lives to themselves from space and formed spheric globes that served as schools to help the atomic lives advance in their education and build up their own rainbow. See, we don't have Uranian education here on this planet, just earthly education. We are striving to build a rainbow of synthesis, which means we must first build the beauty of our aura. Or in reality, we're rebuilding the beauty of our aura. Then the aura of our nation, and then the aura of the world. So how can this be done? First, we realize that we begin to build continuity of consciousness. And in this process of building continuity of consciousness, we are building joy, we are building solemnity and honesty. And in this process, our aura begins to create very bright and deep colors. These energies and colors become recorded. And you know where they're recorded? In your permanent atoms, your diskette, your physical diskette, your astral or emotional diskette, your mental diskette is where these colors are being recorded. So anytime fear, selfish action, hatred, greed, jealousy, or even ill will occurs, these negative gears instantly take away the beauty of your aura, and it leaves it muddy and gray in color. The size of your aura shrinks like aging skin. It's not pleasant. This affects, let me stop here to say, it's not that we don't become negative from time to time, but those, the space or the amount of time between that negative effect and this negative effect becomes, how can I explain it, greater and greater. In other words, let's say the middle of last year, I had 7 days of being really down. But then I got over it, and that same experience didn't happen for another year or 2 or 3 years. As opposed to, is it called a pre-aspirant stage? I'm not sure. Anyway, this is pre-aspirant stage. This is a new terminology. Pre-aspirant stage. You're a wreck. Every week you wake up, oh my gosh, I've got to go to work and I have to face this fellow co-worker, and then I have to face the kids, my teenage kids coming home, and all these horrible things, and you wake up every day you're an emotional mess, right? But what we have to look forward to after the pre-aspirant stage is that we go through the stages of aspiration, aspiring to be somebody better, to have a life that's more purposeful and less self-centered, until we move into the realm of discipleship, where now if we go through these emotional, I can't pronounce the word, tumultuous times, it normally has something to do with the stage of humanity, or what is happening in your country, or mass crises took place that's affected the planet, the world. And we go through 7 days of the emotional, tumultuous experience. And oftentimes that experience inspires us to bring about change. The effect results in such experiences as depressions, where germs attack and we get sick. Our psychic energy withdraws on such occasion, and our inner temple remains open to dark attacks. In the world of discipleship, you're going to go through this. It's part of discipleship. It's part of our education and training to know that these things happen and how do we turn it around. It's like in Agni Yoga, they have this word, tactica adversa. How do we take this situation, transform it, and release more light from our consciousness? The permanent atoms in our physical astral bodies register all these changes. So we must, in order to rebuild the beauty of our aura, there are 6 things to do. One is to make an effort to undo the wrongs that we committed. Number 2, to repent. Number 3, to meditate. Number 4, to save our energy. Be more economical with our energy. To pray. And number 6, to make a decision and resolution not to repeat the wrong actions anymore. Thus, our aura begins to build again. But the previous depression is already recorded on the diskette, or our permanent atom. The changes in our aura for the positive or for the negative affects what? Plants. It affects plants. People's responses. Events. Electrical devices. The atmosphere of your room. The reception of energy or prana. The assimilation of prana. Changes are also noted in your throat, in your heart, and sacral centers, also in your eyes and voice and glands. This is the whole synthesis as we go through the evolution, the evolutionary growth of our spirituality. Pollution is accumulated in our permanent atoms, so this is something for us to understand. What kind of pollution? These are 4 department heads. I know there's a better word, better phrase than that, but the 4 points of axis of pollution that affects our permanent atoms and becomes recorded in these permanent atoms. And the first is wrong action. See how we're now being held responsible. We can't blame mom and dad and the teacher and the sister and brother and our enemies and so forth. It's wrong actions, and our wrong actions then become recorded in the permanent atoms. When we speak wrong, holy cow, it's no wonder that taking initiations requires so many incarnations. When we speak wrong, we're held accountable. How are we held accountable? Because it's recorded in our permanent atoms. When we feel wrong and when we think wrong, or when we're forced by others to commit acts, criminal actions, or when we are obsessed by entities that pollute and distort our communication network. When we are obsessed by entities that pollute and distort our communication network. Very serious, very real. Purity and harmony of the colors manifest as health, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual health, virtue, strength, creativity, and psychic development. purity and harmony of colors. Impurity and inharmonious conditions of the colors create ill health, vices, weaknesses, laziness or inertia, lower or dark psychism. And this is my warning. When you are in a cycle, a personal cycle, where you are undergoing transmutational, transformational, or even transfigurational events in your life, be very, very careful of who you bring into your environment. The more advanced in consciousness you are, the more careful you must be, because you can put yourself in danger if you put yourself, or you create an environment where, let's say that there are people in your immediate environment that have serious mental health. They're possessed, they're obsessed, they're diagnosed by a psychiatrist. You recognize that they have more than one entity speaking through them. Do not try to save them. Now is not the time. You're just trying to save yourself. But this is the time you're most vulnerable. So that's my warning. Wait until you are strong, your life is in balance, and now you can, without attachment or without allowing that person to live in your personal environment, you can help them. But they're not sleeping under your roof, so to speak. During initiation ceremonies, when our consciousness expands beyond its limits and penetrates into a new plane, the heart center and the head center play a great role. In every initiation, these centers are exposed to painful pressure. And I can attest to this. I have experienced it, so it's not hypothetical or theoretical. It's true. In every initiation, these centers are exposed to a painful pressure, and those who cannot stand the pressure are not allowed to go into the ceremony, not allowed to attend the ceremony, to enter the ceremony. This is the reason why our heart is important. From the beginning of the path, the teachers of wisdom have advised us to protect our heart and not to humiliate our crown, our head center. It will be impossible for us to take advanced initiations with a wounded heart, because it will have a disastrous effect on your life for many incarnations. Now, we have the example of Mother Teresa. And I know people who have said they wanted to go to India to be part of Mother Teresa's army of nuns to heal others, right? Mother Teresa lived to a very old age. She was ready. She could do that because she did not have a wounded heart. She did not ever humiliate her crown center, her chalice. So we do not want to go out and save the world when we haven't yet saved ourselves. The heart is wounded by every harmful thought, expression, feeling, word, or by attitudes that do not agree with synthesis. Do you see what I'm saying? Let me repeat this. The heart is wounded by every harmful thought, expression, feeling, word, or by attitudes that do not agree with synthesis, or in other words, with love and compassion. Accumulations of wounds for hundreds of incarnations make it impossible for you to stand in the pressure of the Master and pass through initiation. You cannot bypass the Master. When you take an initiation, the Master is right there. And sometimes the Lord of the world, Sanakamara, is right there. The Christ. In creating the rainbow of synthesis, you pass through a phase which people call by many different names, such as renouncement, detachment, leaving the lower self behind. The idea is that where there comes a time when you merge with the whole and lose yourself to find yourself, right? We've heard this. The idea is there comes a time when we merge with the whole and lose ourselves to find ourselves. The rainbow of synthesis brings with it the divine will into our life. The divine will makes us see that in every human being there exists only the one self. This is why our meditation this morning is such an important meditation to experience. The divine will makes us see that in every human being there exists only the one self which must be brought into actualization. The name given to the human soul after the fifth initiation is called the Angel of Presence. After this fifth initiation, the human soul is now merged with the divine synthesis. This divine synthesis relates to the monad. Divine synthesis relates to the monad. The human soul, for the first time, is now aware of his Father in heaven, the monad, and merges with it. At your fourth initiation, your chalice is destroyed and the solar angel is no more. Your human soul breaks all his identifications with the solar angel, who at times even was identified with the human soul. After your solar angel leaves, your human soul for the first time really contacts his essence, the divine synthesis, and faces the dweller on the threshold for the final battle. I'm almost done. The dweller on the threshold is the living image in which you are identified. That image is hard to leave, the image that you have a human form. The human form identified with physical, emotional, and mental web of events and relationships. As a fifth degree initiate, you now must totally break it and see yourself in a new light. And that new light is the angel of the presence. You become the angel of the presence. The battle goes on for a long time, and eventually the master-to-be focuses himself in the divine synthesis and gets free from the dweller on the threshold. In striving to build, this is important now, even though this is the last paragraph. Pay attention. In striving to build the rainbow of synthesis, your nature will be pure, charged with pure motive and higher thinking. The power of the rainbow of synthesis develops when your consciousness transcends the mental plane and functions in the intuitional light. And this is what you want to remember. You will be a leader in the incoming 6th race. You will be a leader in the incoming 6th race. So, the power of the rainbow of synthesis develops when your consciousness transcends the mental plane and functions in the intuitional light. Okay, so that's a lot to assimilate, but the good thing is we don't have to memorize it all. You can access the YouTube video later on today and listen, or you can even order the CD.